Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's a bit of an unscheduled live that we're doing today with the lovely Deborah Byrne, who is a counselling psychologist. I think I got that right. I'm going to bring her on screen now so that you can say hello to her and she can say hello to you. Hi, Deborah.
Guys. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for having me on. Hope
You are
everybody's
more than
okay
welcome.
today.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said there.
Sorry, I hope everybody's okay today. Everybody's having an okay day.
Oh yeah, hopefully. Yeah, well, it's a bit wet and windy here. What's it like where you are?
Wet and windy.
Well, you're in Wexford too, aren't you?
I'm up the road from you. I'm not that far up the road, but it's been really difficult weather lately. Really unusual weather.
Hasn't it? Hasn't it just? Yeah, it's been
Mhm.
unusually well. Actually, no, for Ireland, it's not too bad when you think about it.
Uh, I want the warmer weather back, Jackie. I'm sorry. I need my heat.
Yeah, yeah. Me too. Like today, it was like, okay, I think I need a jumper.
Yeah. Yep. The jumper's on.
Yeah, jumper. Excellent. Okay, Deborah, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone and tell everyone a little bit about what you do and how you can help them? I'm going to pop off screen while you do that,
Okay.
okay?
Thanks very much, Jackie. Hi, everybody. My name is Deborah Byrne. As Jackie said, I'm from Deborah Byrne Psychology Services, and known across social media as DB Psychology. So basically, I'm a counselling psychologist, and I do specialise in counselling with women. I do counsel couples as well. And my primary focus is on stress reduction, particularly for mums. And so with that in mind, I do a lot of work with mums. I have my own Facebook group for mums. It's a free group where people can come in and take up all the stress tips and strategies that I give them. But I also work one-to-one with people. I do online counseling as well as face-to-face. And I do a regular blog every week where I like to give people information. And the reason I like to do that is because once upon a time I wasn't a psychologist, but I was a mum, and my son was diagnosed with a disability, and nobody, including the psychologist, could tell me where I should go and get more information other than the diagnosis, and I felt very lost at sea. And so I decided to start a charity, but I also decided to train teachers. And to do that, I needed to get a qualification. And so I became a psychologist and a teacher. And so that was the start of the road. But as I progressed, I found I was counseling more and more parents through what they were going through, similar disabilities with their children. And it has progressed from there that I counsel mums, in particular, women. Could be business owners, they could be working, they could be, full-time mums, and that is who I work with. But the blog and the Facebook Live I do every week is aimed at giving people information, because my thoughts on that is that, if you have information, if you have the right information that you need, it empowers you. Now, of course, we have to take action with that, but it does empower us. It really does empower us. So
Yeah.
that's basically who I am and how I got into this.
That's an excellent introduction, Deborah. Yeah, I have to agree with what you said there at the end. It does, empowerment and knowledge is a lot, isn't it? It's a lot of the learning process of what we can achieve and how we can improve our lives. I believe anyway. So let me bring us on to our topic today, which is about people and relationships under stress and strain, particularly through the restrictions that we went under. A lot of relationships suffered, people suffered psychologically, emotionally, and I'd say also spiritually. They suffered as well. Tell us a little. Can you talk us through that a little bit there, please?
Sure. Well, let's go back a little bit. First off, we have stress, and we would have our normal up and down stress. But then we reached COVID-19. And unfortunately, that put an awful lot of stress on individuals.
Yeah.
an awful lot of stress on relationships as well. And, you can see why you've got financial problems, maybe job insecurity, maybe businesses have had to fold. There's an awful lot of insecurity there. But because it was such a major life event, it also, I think, tapped into people's basic survival and safety mechanisms, our very basics that we have that, protect ourselves, how we can protect ourselves, how we can protect our families. And that has, added to it, the normal pressures that we would see in people's lives. So out of that, I think people became more aware of what was going on. They started to re-examine their lives, maybe, and they started to realize, well, what do I have and what do I not have? And they also, were looking at, well, let's reevaluate things. I think an awful lot of people have started to reevaluate, but they've done it in a way that it's not, the emphasis is no longer, I think, on the work-life balance. It's life first and then work. I think because we've tapped in to this, basic survival and what we needed to do and pull together as a country, which I think we really have in Ireland. We've really pulled together as a country. And people have really stepped up and put themselves out there to help others. They've really now looking and saying, I want more life work rather than work-life balance. But of course, then for others, if you had already had pressures on the relationship, sometimes we can tick along, but we're kind of papering over the cracks. But then if you're in a situation like this, as I've just described, it's like ripping off ripping off the plaster, and the cracks are all there. They become more highlighted. It's then all the stress and strain then is more highlighted and more, it's showing more. It's almost like a perfect storm. Because normally we wouldn't see somebody coming in to a crisis unless something major happens in their life, maybe through an alcohol addiction, and they suddenly realize I'm an addict, I have an addiction here, and they collapse that way, or their business collapse, or your relationship collapse. But they're all individual life events that can be high stressors. But we have to remember, COVID-19 is a major life stressor. It is something that can cause PTSD, and we normally post-traumatic stress disorder.
I wouldn't have I wouldn't have associated PSTD with COVID. I'm surprised to learn that. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, sorry, I'll expand. Yeah. Post-traumatic stress disorder is basically, you can get post-traumatic stress disorder by either watching an event happening and unfolding, which most of us have been doing, or taking part in the event and experiencing, which again we are all doing anyway. Whether we're out on the front line, like the wonderful people we've had out on the front line, or whether we're sitting in our homes and we're working from home, we can still get PTSD as a result of this major life event, major life crisis. I think people associate post-traumatic stress disorder with somebody that's been in a war-torn country and experienced war, or is a veteran, or a soldier going out there. They don't realize that even a car crash, something that a car crash can give you PTSD, and there's different types of PTSD. But the one with COVID-19, I think, is more complicated or complex PTSD, because it's such an ongoing high pressure, high stress situation on an ongoing basis. It's reoccurring. We're expecting, as psychologists, as psychiatrists, we are expecting a rise in PTSD, and not just from the frontline staff. We're expecting an awful lot of stress, anxiety, and depression as well to rise, unfortunately. My message to people is, be mindful and reach out sooner rather than later, please, because therapy is quite quick if you reach out sooner, and you won't go down the line of of putting it off and putting it off. We tend to put it off and put it off, and thinking, I'm not bad enough.
Or maybe somebody's thinking like, I don't have the right to feel bad, even though they might be feeling really bad. They might be under financial stress. This, as you say, like relationships and finance and relationships kind of go like that. And maybe because they feel like they're safe, they're in a first world country or whatever, they have a roof over their head, that they don't have the right to complain or the right to feel depressed, and they might be depressed. Like, is that kind of the sort of scenarios that we're talking about here?
We're talking about that. I think we have to be very mindful of that it's okay to reach out and talk and ask for help. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are, or you think, oh, it couldn't be me. It's okay to just chat to somebody. Like, for instance, I would do even shorter sessions with somebody, say 8 to 12 weeks, where we're just focusing on maybe the stress that they're under, the current stress they're under, because that can just get you over the hump, and it means then you're not spiraling down and getting worse. And that's why I say to people, get in quicker rather than leave it to later.
Right. And how do you feel, somebody like yourself would be able to help somebody in a relationship that, as you say, the cracks have been shown, because we wouldn't have spent as much time with our partners, our husbands, our girlfriends, even our family. We would have had to spend a lot more time away from each other than together. And during the restrictions, we have spent so much time together. It's like unreal, the amount, we're not getting any space from each other, except for maybe going into a different room. So all these cracks are sort of showing. So how can you help in those sort of circumstances?
I think by coming and talking about it. I think we need to come and talk about it and see where we're at. Basically, a psychologist or a therapist, we're like guides. We'll guide you down the road. We will give you the tools and tips you need to reevaluate, but also practical strategies. I like to give people practical strategies that they can implement on a daily basis. But it also gives you breathing space. It's your hour that you have with somebody who's a neutral party, and you can just talk to them. You can get it all out. And I think we fail to realize that can be, one, so helpful, but also two, I like to think of it as emotional vomit. It's not a nice phrase, I know. But just like getting sick, if we were sick physically, getting it all out helps us mentally to express it and get it all out there. But it can be physically draining. I think people, there are physical symptoms, but if we hold it in, we will end up with physical symptoms as well. We're not doing ourselves any favors by, putting on the brave face and saying, oh no, I'll get through this. No, please don't. You're only setting yourself up for possible burnout and collapse or other mental health issues. So I'd rather see people coming quicker and doing shorter sessions, and then they're able to get on with their life, than having a collapse, if you like, or spiraling down into a worse state. And that's unfortunately what can happen.
Yeah, and just for people who watch this on replay, what advice would you have for, say, couples that, say, for example, they were due to get married in May, and COVID hit. They've had to postpone their wedding or cancel their wedding, and say, for example, that particular couple were very strong at the beginning of this. They have the stresses and strains of planning their wedding. COVID hits. Now they have the stresses and strains of postponing, and then now having to reschedule everything because they're lifted. And now I'll say, for example, the little stuff that we would argue about, I don't believe anybody goes around in this world without arguing, but the little stuff that we argue about now has become huge mountains, like, big. What would you suggest for those particular couples that are out there, or even, people that are married, is there any particular advice that you have to give to them? Maybe some stress reduction or talking, or, something along those lines?
So there's kind of two things there. Depending on the couple, The first thing I always say to couples is, if it's not a very black and white, if you are going to divorce somebody or if you're going to break up, it'll be a case where there's no hesitation. So if you're thinking along the lines, will I, won't I, will I, won't I, then you're not ready. You're not ready to leave. There's still hope for the relationship, guys. Okay, there's still hope. So then you reach out to somebody like me, and that will help. And you can work through, as you say, the small issues that have become big issues, is to talk to somebody like me. So taking a step back. And I know maybe somebody that has planned their wedding and things were strong at the start, maybe delaying it or pushing the timeline out maybe, and getting the therapy and doing that therapy first, if it's that bad. If it is that bad, okay, I'll come on to stress reduction tips in a minute, but if it's that bad, guys, you still love one another, rekindle that love. Maybe take a step back from the added pressure of the planning of the wedding. I'm sorry, but we have to get practical, and refocuses on you as a couple and getting to reconnect together. It's an added, we're already under a very stressful situation with COVID-19. So now we're having a wedding, which is massively stressful for anybody. On top of it. So just shrink it back just for a little bit. I'm not talking about months and months and months. I'm just talking about shifting it out maybe 3 months and refocus on yourselves. But as I said, like, stress reduction tips that we can do immediately would be make sleep a priority, for instance. It's one of the first things I've tackled with my group, was their sleep, for mums that were stressed. Because when we make stress a priority, it can have such a knock-on effect for the rest of our lives and reducing down the stress. So if you can do that and sticking to a regular routine of getting up in the morning and going to bed around the same time each night, even at the weekends, can help for 2 reasons. One, it helps our brain. It needs routine. Our brain loves routine. And 2, our sleep. It needs a regular routine. It needs the daylight. It needs, there's 2, I can go on a tangent here and describe how sleep works, and I don't want to do that, Jackie.
That's okay. I love my sleep, so carry on.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I have a blog on Monday coming out on sleep tips, but which, if you're interested in, do check it out, because it is really, really should be one of our priorities. The other one is self-care. And if we can, even as a couple, if you can come back to doing that basic self-care for yourself and then as a couple, it's amazing how quickly that will help you, because you're taking that time out for yourself, you're recharging your batteries, you're doing some meditation. And something as simple, it doesn't have to be sitting there for 20 minutes or half an hour with a meditation. I will teach people a 3-minute breather, and that they can take on the go and use in work. If I'm stressed out, I'm having an argument, I can say, I need a break here for a minute, pop off to the bathroom, few minutes, 3 minutes of breathing, doing a 3-minute breather. It calms the mind, it calms down what's going on, and then you can come back and talk about in a more rational manner what's going on between the two of you. So, having that, taking that time out for your own hobbies, taking time out for your own interests, getting outside for the walk, it makes a huge difference to your sleep, but also to you and how calm you are and how de-stressed you can become. The other thing I say to them is put the positive support system in place. And as business owners, as just as a normal human being, everyday human being, whether you have a business or not, having a good positive support system close to you is vital. So having that social support, informational support, tangible support. I mean, I think we see that now with mums needing to go back to work, and we need tangible support there. And emotional support.
Yes,
so
emotional support. Yeah, Yeah. And when you say, like, you know, to have that support system around you, I think it's also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's also very important that the people that you choose are like-minded and aren't going to be your opposite. So what I mean by that is, like, you know, that they're not going to pull you down. You need people that are literally going to hold you up. Would I be?
Oh no, this is support.
Yeah.
This is support. It's vital. They have to be positive, but they also have to be practical. There has to be some practical in there. And I talk about that in emotional and informational support. Like, I would be a support system for somebody. As a psychologist, even the fact that you have my number or you can contact me. If I'm in crisis, I know I have somebody there. I don't have to go looking for it. Yes. I don't have to panic about who I'd reach out to. I have that number on my phone, or, you know, in a book, you know, in a diary, in a address book or something. Somebody like that, having that practical support, or somewhere you can come and reach out, even with the blogs that I would do, and go, okay, oh, she did a blog on that. Well, that's where I'll get the information. Or that could be my starting point. And that's informational support, as well as emotionally supporting you too, because you feel better once you get the information, and then you can take necessary steps. Another thing people can use, and I think it's a good thing for even people in business that they can use, it's actually very good for people in business, is a brain dump, what I call a brain dump.
Okay, this sounds interesting. Hang on, let me get my notes here. I'm going to take some notes.
Okay. You can use the brain dump. The brain dump is just basically getting everything that's going on in your here, in the frontal cortex here. It's your working memory, it's your short-term working memory. It doesn't have a lot of capacity. It's very small.
Okay.
And when we go to sleep,
can I just ask, is that what affects your short-term memory then? So you might say something, or you might walk into a room and you know you can't remember what you walked into a room. Is that all stored up here then, is it?
No, what's happening is you would be trying to retrieve it from your long-term memory and bring it from here to here.
Okay, right.
So sometimes the neural network gets a bit blocked.
Okay.
And even I have what's called senior moments.
Okay, that's what I was asking about.
Yeah, so that's why I say about routine. That's what the brain likes, routine. Like the old long-term memory, the old limbic system back here, the lizard brain, as you like, that's the old brain. That's still there. It dominates, and it likes our routine. It likes things to be automated. So sometimes it doesn't play ball with the frontal cortex, the working memory. No, it doesn't like it. They don't get on very well sometimes.
Oh, really?
Brain dump will help this. This is something a brain dump will help. You know, one is, I always say to people, in order to help you get a good night's sleep, is do a brain dump. That's the first way to do it. You get everything down. You might start with something you forgot to write on the shopping list, appointment the next day. Maybe you need to make a phone call or an email, and you forgot to write it in your diary. And then let the thoughts flow, the random thoughts. They can be just one word, 2 words. They don't have to be a Dear Diary or anything like that. Just get it all down. Because what happens when you go to sleep, your working memory here, the short-term working memory, tries to shuffle all that back into your long-term memory to make room, because it's so small.
Okay.
You know, we can forget things, but our brain then, if we're trying to also remember, I have to do X, Y, and Z tomorrow, that kind of causes a problem. And you're going to be thinking about it during the night, and it'll disrupt your sleep.
And it's a kind of a stress as well then, isn't it? Then it becomes a stressor.
Yeah, it becomes a huge stressor. So it's a simple tip to, like, have a journal or a piece of paper beside your bed and just write everything down, or just use your notes on your phone or your tablet and just go and just get it all out. And it's like, get it all out. Your brain goes, oh, I don't have to remember it. It's down there. I have it there on this piece of paper. I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
The other way, and I think this is one that people can use the brain dump for, is if you're stuck. If you're stuck in any way, either what do I do next because I've got so much on my plate, or I have to make a decision. And then the simplest way is, again, do the brain dump, because when we get it all out, we get everything that's running around, all that washing machine that's going at 120 an hour, it's breath per minute going bang, 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 bang. It slows it down. Once you get it out, it starts to slow down, and then you can think more clearly. So that is actually a good one, to get it out and down.
Journaling would be really good for this then. It doesn't really matter. You could just literally have a notebook and call it a journal, if you will, and just brain dump. Yeah.
You don't have to have you don't have to have a fancy journal. Sorry, I'm just reaching over to get one for somebody. I mean, this is just a notebook from a well-known supermarket. Something like that. You don't have to have a fancy, or as I said, if you're more tech minded, you can have Evernotes or something like that, or some sort of notes on your phone or your tablet, and note it down. The other thing, though, for the worry, and that is, I say to people, is, create a worry period.
A worry period?
Yeah.
Does that mean you are allowing yourself to worry then? Like, you're saying, okay, it's okay now to get stressed for 10 minutes.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how it works. So you decide, okay, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I would say no longer than 20 minutes. And you sit down and you get worried. You let it go to the worst case scenarios. And sometimes if we're stuck, we have to do that. Even taking 10 minutes out doing that. But we want to make this constructive, okay? We need this to be constructive. So sitting down and worrying is still keeping it up in our heads. So again, back to your brain dump. Write it all down. Get it out. When we see it on paper, sometimes then we can actually challenge it. We can say, oh, that's ridiculous. Why am I thinking that? Or, oh, no, that's a good idea. That's better. We can do a pros and cons, or we can see the next step we need to take.
Right, yes. That makes sense.
Just trying to keep it up here. And when we try to keep it up here too much, that's when things keep spiraling. Spiraling. You have to break the cycle. Just break the cycle. So take a few minutes, break the cycle, let it think, get it down, and then re-examine it if you need to, or just burn it, because it's, oh, that's a load of rubbish. You can say, oh, that's a load of rubbish, and just burn it. And
it's out of your mind.
Exactly.
And that stress is now dissipated.
It is. You're trying to dissipate the stress as much as possible, and break the negative cycle. That's what we're trying to do. It's a practical tip, along with a 3-minute breather, because you just breathe in, and if you breathe out for longer, that calms your nerves down. Okay. If you have time, I can just do it for a minute with you. We use a counting system. So the simplest way to do this is to count in for 4 on an in-breath, but count out for 6 on an out-breath. Okay. When we make the out-breath longer, we activate what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, that just means it's rest and digest. I'm safe.
Okay, because that just went like that over my head.
Yeah, I know. It's big words, and people go, what? All we have to do, if we can focus on breathing out for longer, it just tells our body and our mind we're safe. It's okay to calm down. We don't need to get stressed. We don't need to release the adrenaline and the cortisol.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We don't need to
get the cortisol. And the cortisol is the dangerous chemical.
Well, the adrenaline one is because we can get caught up in it's called the GTA, and that's not the game. That's get things done frequency in our brain. It's called the beta frequency. And if we stay up there too long in that frequency, we get flooding our system constantly with adrenaline. And what happens then is you need more and more and more adrenaline just to feel normal. And this is where we're breaking that cycle. We need to break that cycle and break the adrenaline flooding the body. So the breathing really helps with that. Taking that just 3 minutes, and 3 minutes throughout the day. So you could start off with 3 minutes before you got out of bed, 3 minutes at your lunch break, 3 minutes before dinner, and then 3 minutes before you go to bed. So you're doing quite a lot of meditation there. But each time you're resetting your brain. You're resetting it back to a more calm and centered point by breathing out for longer. Just breathe out for longer. It's like a sigh.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
when we do something and we're in
Yeah.
that fright mode, and we're
Yeah.
racing and we have to get it done, that's the adrenaline pumping.
Yeah.
And then when we're finished, we kind of go, oh.
Yeah, I recognize that as soon as you said it. Like, I was like, yeah, I do that.
So we just kind of go, okay, calm down. So if we can break it and get to the calm down quick
I think we
by doing the breather, then
Right.
positive. That's breaking the cycle.
Okay, excellent. Wow, Deborah, you have been amazing. You've been so generous with your information. I know we could carry on talking for a full hour.
Yeah. I have more.
So listen, Deborah, thank you so much. I am actually just going to pop up all of your social media channels now
Thank you very much.
so that everybody can get in contact with you should they want to.
Yep.
Because because you on Saturday mornings, is it, on your page? You for the mums page, I think it is, isn't it?
No, on Saturday mornings. It gets a bit confusing, I know. Okay. On Saturday mornings, I do Facebook Live in my own page, and that's for the blog every week. That's the blog. But I am doing workshops continuously throughout the week in my mums group, Less Stress, More Success for Mums. So it's a continuous workshop there, stress tips. We're currently working on dealing with negative people and boundaries. So that's what we're currently working on. If anybody wants to join, more than welcome. Pop along.
Wonderful. Yeah, if you don't mind, after we say goodbye here, is to pop in the links for that. And then if there's anybody here that wants to join you, at least they know where to go. So
thank you very much for that, Jackie.
No problem whatsoever. Thank you very much for giving up your time and talking to us, Deborah. And yeah, I look forward to carrying on this conversation as soon as we finish now. So thanks everybody for joining us. And if you're watching this on replay, we hope you enjoyed it. And do tune in next week for our next live interview. Thanks again. Bye for now.
Bye now. Thank you.